Alright, let's get back to a house of many doors. So we'd gone to the City of Knives previously. We have a passenger, I believe. Yeah, we'll wander the streets. A Golem Guard patrol boat has sprung a leak, and due to some glitch or oversight in its calculus brain, the Golem officer on board is ignoring its own peril and running desperately around its own descending patrol boat in search of citizens to rescue. The Golem is attracting a little attention, mostly of the laughing and pointing variety. The boat sinks inevitably beneath the green water, the doomed Golem officer loudly announcing safety protocols and throwing its life ring at a civilian on the nearest shore. Its mechanical voice becomes a burble as its mouth slips below the surface, then it's gone. Let's go with it strangely sad and gain a moment of melancholy. Advertise for new crew member here. This person could be good, but I think I have a quest for our current surgeon, Rutherford. So let's get a guard. So I read up a little bit on the mechanics of the game, and it seems that it's pretty important to try to fill out your crew complement as much as possible. City of Engines. Okay, we can go to the south. Let's see, what did Rutherford said? Let's tear down this cairn. Nothing. Let's see, can we stop at any of these? We could stop at some of these cities on the way back. I believe the City of Keys is essentially the sort of home base. That is a big train, we are not going to mess with that. Let's snag this thing real quick. See if we can... Ah, shoot. Thought it was glowing. Guess not. Oh, it is glowing. Collapsed library. Alright, nothing there. Kennedy Yard. Sweeping searchlights cut the dark in two, barbed wire glimmers, catching light in its tangles. Visitants to the house, those people newly stolen, bring with them many dangers. Dangerous knowledge, dangerous items, dangerous personal beliefs. Such newcomers who appear within the borders of the Seven Cities are bustled to Kennedy Station for tea and polite questioning and, if necessary, brutal re-education. Petition for entry. A little lost, friend? Asked the governor's man in the least friendly voice you've ever heard. The City of Keys is south, and beyond that the City of Masks. Keep heading north, you'll reach the City of Knives. Now I suggest you get a move on before we do something highly classified to you. We don't have any of these options yet, so let's head out. Let's head over to the City of Keys. A ruined pub, a tavern from another world. Its roof is caved in, its floor caked in dust. The bar is tragically empty. Let's search for a drink. No luck finding a drink, but you do find a sack of salt in the larder. All other food has long since rotted. Dilapidated church. Okay, we've done one of these before. Let's get a cryptographic tablet. Looks like that might be a second one over there. Or not. The City of Keys. You know the streets here, the accents, the looming skyline. Even the omnipresent sense of menace is, in its own way, comfortingly familiar. This is a city of brimming possibilities, each stamped out as quickly as it forms. This is the city that opened 1,000 doors, that founded extracellular colonies. This is the most prolific producer of keys in all the house. But all things must be measured against their cost. Orphanstown, the howling pits, and most of all the factory, squatting vastly over the center of the city, a bloated concrete tumor swollen the size of a dozen castles. No matter how far you go, you will bring all this with you. So you can visit dwellings, write a freelance article. Okay, we use our current affairs that we gathered to write freelance articles. Okay, we don't get a bonus because these are nearby ones. So we can sell this to different places. The Hollow Trumpets are willing to accept freelance work. They're the biggest tabloid in the city and they'll pay the best, but they won't appreciate you. The second option is the Pioneer, a magazine for explorers and travelers. They'll naturally be interested in your work and they pay quite well. Then there's the Key Details, a semi-satirical paper known for tweaking the noses of censors. You won't get paid well, but you might do some real journalism occasionally. Let's do the Pioneers. Gather news. Something huge and covered in mouths emerged from the sewers and wreaked havoc. Exciting new adventures in techno-thaumaturgy. A new Saint Gravedon has been chosen. Let's visit our dwellings. You rent a poky little one-room apartment above a dingy tavern on Grief Street. You've learned to sleep through the singing and fighting of the patrons. Let's write a poem. You sit at your desk and strive furiously to compose yourself before you can compose anything else. Your pen shakes in excitement. Images flicker in your mind. Patterns, echoes, reflections. So we can only do, it looks like, a transcendent ballad. So this is the procedurally generated poetry that the game apparently has. The ballad is titled An Orphan's Town. Extract. The daughter of inspiration and red pits, for, born a glimmerlight, the serpent will ever groom. The glimmerlight of itself is crying unfit. Such was the light whose awakening was so agloom. So that gives us apprehensions, which is the stuff we can spend to level up our attributes. We have an invitation to 151 Withering Street. Withering Street is a tranquil row of middle-class homes, narrow leafy gardens, and ornamental gnomes. 151 looks just as cheery as all its neighbors. You knock at the door, and the door is answered by a small man in an ill-fitting suit. He has a craggy face, unkempt stubble, alarmingly blue eyes. I am a governor's man, he explains without preamble, ushering you inside. Sit down. Talk. The inside of the house is devoid of furniture, except for a single velvet armchair into which the governor's man reclines. He looks you up and down and smiles quizzically, hands folded in his lap. He'll pay me for secrets with guineas and reputation. So we do have an unsettling conjecture that we can sell. I'm not sure if I want to do that just yet, though. I don't really need the money right now. You may refer to me as 151 Withering Street, says the governor's man, and perhaps, one day, a friend. The damn smile never leaves his lips. Okay, let's go back. An intricate city map catches your eye at the station. Have you seen this city? Demands the poster. Below it is a city map, though not one you recognize. The city of Glass was mysteriously moved into Principate territory in the year 1802, reads the poster's smaller print. After the cities fought valiantly to reclaim it, it vanished again and has not been seen since. Can you help us find our 7th city? 20,000 guinea reward. Let's advertise for a new crew member. Do a poster. Okay, let's get this lady, Ashen. She's a guard captain. Let's wander the streets. You wander your old haunts. You have a weight of history here. You visit your family. It's a proper gathering. Doddering parents, disreputable uncles, a few errant cousins whose lives are a scintillating mystery. Tea and cake are imbibed in accordance with ritual. Your departure is mournful. Your parents cannot understand your wanderlust and make you promise to return if the horrors of the house grow too fearsome. Gained a huge amount of sanity. Let's check out some of these shops. You can get fuel pretty cheap here. We can get more guns and stuff. I feel like the first thing we should upgrade should be the engine, though. Oh, we can sell our sack of salt. That's cool. I know if this is anything like Sun of the Sea, which it is, you can definitely make money by buying certain items in some cities and selling them in others. But there's just so much to keep track of. Let's do another freelance article for that other city. Okay. We can head out. We'll go to there, and then the City of Engines. Okay, here's our new crew member. Ashen, a gaunt woman with terrible scars. She doesn't seem to move or speak much. Okay. You find her in the mess hall, flipping through a poetry book from your room. Her boots are up on the table, the book of poetry held loosely in her hands. When her mouth curls, her scars pucker. I used to love this kind of stuff, she says. Now I can't make head or tail of it. She glances at you thoughtfully, her eye a stark moon. You're into this sort of thing, right? Sure. I wonder. She flips through the poetry book again. I knew a man once. He obsessed over poetry. Me and him used to stay up all night reading passages to each other, talking about how life is beautiful. She snorts. Why do you bring this up? Because that man needs killing, says Ashen, and he's too cautious for me to get him. But I bet he'd love to meet a poet. Who is he? He doesn't use his old name anymore, she says, just calls himself G, because he's a pretentious shit. He's the CEO of the Consortium. The Consortium would be a powerful enemy. True, Ashen taps her fingers against the table. But if this goes right, no one will know you were involved. The heat will fall on me. Who's on your list? Why do you even have a list? They didn't wrong me personally, she says. This isn't about revenge. This is justice. Sure, I'll kill him. I never said I wanted you to kill him. I'll take care of that. She pulls from her pocket a disc of silver glass, barely larger than your palm. When you look at your reflection, there's a half-second delay, a fetch mirror then, though you've never seen one so small. I just need to get inside and conceal this somewhere, as close to him as possible, says Ashen. Then I can sneak through the mirror, in through the mirror-wise, and... She makes a cutting motion across her throat. I'd like reassurance that my part in this will not be known. Ashen nods. I'll take all the risk here, boss. In that case, I will help you. Cheers, boss. Trust me, he needs to die. Let's ask if she knows anything about the City of Glass. Okay. Actually, let's interrogate all our crew about that real quick. Ooh, that's not good. Let's just get out of here, because that thing is big. No luck finding about the City of Glass with him. Let's ask this lady. Okay, no luck. All right. Waker's Respite. The air hums with strange engines. The floating orb communes of the naughty doctors orbit each other overhead. Those who come to the house from other worlds are surprised to find that they can go much longer without food and drink. Even sleep is not exactly required for survival. But those who go without sleep for too long become wake mad, and the naughty doctors come for them. The naughty doctors have no obligation to entertain guests. There is no one to greet you at the door and no way to access the orbs overhead, which are usually forbidden to sound sleepers. Let's try to get their attention. Okay. That's about all we can do here. Let's head west. Another ruined pub. No luck on that. We have 40 apprehensions. Is there a way we can check our attributes? Oh yeah, it displays them there. The City of Bridges. A crisscrossing network of bridges, each groaning under the weight of hundreds of buildings, straddling a measureless abyss. Effluence from the higher bridges falls like rain on those below. The city has an elected mayor, but it is, as everyone knows, ruled by the consortium. Okay. A green-cloaked mercenary informs you that the consortium requires your presence. Let's do that. You are led to a grand office in Fortune Hall. A chandelier hangs ponderous and ridiculous from the ceiling. The desk is built from only the most endangered trees. A pinch-faced old man sits behind the desk, flanked by two scribbling scribes. His eyes are hidden behind circular dark glasses. My name is Basilmuth, he says, not looking up to you. If you come across any information relative to the consortium on your travels, you are to bring it directly to me, understood? You'll pay me for secrets with guineas and reputations. Alright. I believe one of our officers wanted something to do with the consortium. Let's wander the bridges. The consortium relies on mercenaries to guard its trade routes, and competition over a contract is fierce. You're minding your own business on Rose Pike Bridge when an honest-to-goodness artillery shell blows the roof from the building behind you. Choking on dust and smoke, you dive behind a nearby grocery stall where a young woman and her son are already cowering. What's going on? The Shade Corps enforcers own that building, she tells you frantically. Some other mercenary band must want to weaken them, stop them from getting a contract. An enormous blimp is casting the smoke-clogged street in shadows. A motley crew of figures drops from it in long lines, men with spiked hair and leather jackets. The Sons of Vermin, says the woman. They don't care about collateral damage. We need to get out of here. Let's wait and watch. The woman and son flee, leaving you crouched watching the action. The Sons of Vermin are an unruly bunch, drunken, tattooed, spraying bullets with wild abandon. They begin to faint at random, at least that's what you think at first, until you spot the red holes in their foreheads, snipers. And a troop of the Shade Corps' enforcers' heaviest infantry are marching down the street. Open warfare is taking place over one of the busiest bridges in the city. Start taking notes. The Shade Corps enforcers are black armored from head to foot, silent soldier silhouettes. The Sons of Vermin roar and belch and yell obscenities. Then they all kill each other. A Penny Dreadful would describe acrobatics, elegance, and choreographed fight scene, but in reality it's an unhappy chaos of stamping and screaming and vomit. Eventually the Sons of Vermin are driven to retreat, grappling back up to their blimp in disarray. By that time you've filled your notebook from cover to cover, so we've got a lurid tale, a war story, and a thrilling yarn. Let's gather news. I guess we could take on a bounty. 200 guinea bounty for a man who the newspapers dubbed the Slayer of Skin Candle Square. Worse than a mere bandit, he's surrounded by horrible rumors of cannibalism and occult sacrifice. Let's go with that guy, because they're offering less, so we might be able to beat him up. This place will buy, like animals and creatures, it seems. Oh, okay, so that's where we need to go. We need to go, so we need to go to the Fortunes Hall, okay. I feel like they probably won't let me in until I give them some stuff. Oh. Long Bondway is the highest and grandest of the bridges, and a Fortune Hall takes up half its span. It is the stitched-together monstrosity of a building, a half-a-mile-long block of gold and marble, of statue and stained glass and fountains and columns, a conglomeration of every single thing that could possibly scream wealth. The road outside is lined by mercenaries. Snipers watch from the towers. You feel the feather-light weight of the fetch mirror sewn into the lining of your coat. Inside, harried suits dash from place to place, spilling paper behind them like footprints. You sent word that you were coming, of course, and a liveried attendant is waiting for you. Come this way. The attendant is clearly something more than a servant. Her muscles strain under her doublet, and the symbol of Gravdun is carved on the back of her neck. Dark glasses cover her eyes. The CEO seldom agrees to meet with strangers, she says, but he has always had a soft spot for poets, and apparently he admires your work in particular. My name is Gilly Bellhart, his personal assistant, advisor, bodyguard. She does not extend a hand. You walk through endless red-carpeted halls lined with solemn portraits and tapestries that try to make historic transactions look as exciting as a battle. You lose count of the guards. There's one every 24 feet, Rottweiler faces assessing you coolly. Finally, here we are. Gilly stops at an apparently unimportant section of wall and presses the nose of a bewhiskered man in a portrait. The wall slides aside instantly and silently. The dark hole opens out in a field of paper-yellow sunflowers. A twinkling, windowed mansion, grand but not grandiose, sits nestled in the center. Stars gleam in the yawning black sky above. Yes, sky, not a ceiling in sight. What is this place? The stars are imported from the city of masks, explains Gilly. Sweat shines on her brow. The sky and the sunflower field belong to some ancient dead god, I believe. Don't worry, we haven't actually left the house. This is all trickery. Illusion and space folding. There are sentry towers dotted throughout the sunflowers. A gravel path winds you directly to the mansion's front door. Gilly takes a step forward, breathing heavily. It takes a while to get used to walking under an actual sky, she warns. I feel as though I'm about to fall upwards. Prepare yourself. Alright. We are at a disadvantage, a test of guts. You never walked under an open sky before, and the fathomless fathoms above seem to pluck at your scalp. You make it to the mansion, though your skin feels like curdled milk. The door knocker is a bronze model of a human face. Gilly outstretches her hand to the knocker and wriggles it to life, extending a single fang, which she sinks into her thumb. It swishes the blood around in its mouth thoughtfully, then spits and says, "Pass." So we lost some sanity because of this guy. Let's go inside. A wave of heat gathers you in its embrace. The lower floor of the mansion is a vast, clamorous kitchen. Red-faced chefs labor over vats of soup, fountains of wine and chocolate, pies the size of boats. G likes to be close to a kitchen, says Gilly. He waits upstairs. Follow me. She's not looking at you. The mirror feels suddenly heavy in your coat. The kitchen is a disorderly chaos of vats, ovens, and cupboards. Now's your chance. So we're at a disadvantage for both of these. We can do it in a cupboard or a vat. Let's do a vat. We pass. Nice. You slip the mirror into a dark corner and hurry up after Gilly. She doesn't seem to have noticed. As soon as you enter G's office and shut the door, the noise of the kitchen vanishes. It's a cozy little place, mostly without ostentation, apart from 3 enormous self-portraits on the walls. G himself is a preposterously large man, stunted legs that don't quite look able to support his immense bulk. He sits at a crimson table, a stack of gravy-stained plates on his left, a banquet waiting on his right. "Ah, Salty John, I admire your work," says G. He dabs at his chins with a handkerchief. "I like to keep track of all the most promising new voices. What made you come and see me?" Let's see if we can seek his patronage. We passed. "I suspected as much," G says. He spears a roasted turkey and begins to tear at its skin with his teeth. "I'm afraid I will have to decline. I admire your poetry, but I don't want a horde of lesser poets begging at the door." He fishes beneath the table and pulls out a sheaf of greasy papers. "Would you mind," he coughs, "would you mind reading my poems? I'd like to hear what you think." They're awful, and no common variety of awful. "Marooned by a tree of gold. Oh, dear me, I am so unbearably old. My thoughts are never happy, my eyes are never dry, and in this hell I wander and don't die." When you look up, G is gazing at you unblinkingly. Gilly stands behind him, is making frantic but impenetrable gestures. Let's go with they could use some work. G nods, a vein twitching in his forehead. "Yes, I suppose that's one perspective." You notice that the fat around his neck is turning magenta. "Gilly, escort our guest. See that they are given something for their time." Gilly grabs your arm and escorts you roughly out the door, through the sunflower fields, back into the reassuringly ceilinged hallway of Fortune Hall. Half a dozen guards are waiting to take you outside, and Gilly whispers something in their ear before she sends you on your way. When you're back out on the Long Bond Way, the biggest guard grabs your arm. "I'm to break all your fingers, apparently," he says jovially as his 5 fellows train their pistols on you. "Don't struggle. Struggling won't help." Can we bribe them? "Nice try," says the guard. "The consortium can triple anything you offer. Now hold still and don't scream too loud. I have a hangover." Do we fight back or do we run away? I think we run away. You're out of their grip and gone in a flash, running until the cursing fades out of earshot. We passed a guile challenge. Let's do one more crewmaster thing. Okay, that's the guy that we had earlier, Bradley Briggs. Let's get another junior engineer. And we should probably get the hell out of here. Okay, we planted that thing. Tell her where we hid the mirror. You take Ashen through Fortune Hall step by step. She doesn't say a word, but as you talk, she sketches a crude but accurate blueprint. And the fetch mirror? She asks intently. As you tell her what happened, she pulls from her jacket a second mirror and bangs it against the table a few times. A fuzzy, backwards image of the kitchen flickers into view on the mirror's surface. They're linked now, she tells you. I'll keep an eye through this and make sure the other one's not discovered. Now, she grins horribly and rubs her hands together. The next part is the tricky part. What's the next part? Ashen stares absently at her feet for a little too long. This is hard to explain, she says finally, but I suppose I have to tell you sooner or later. G can't die. Wait, what? Ashen nods seriously. I told you this would be the trickiest part. G is an immortal. Old age won't touch him. Stab him and he'll laugh. Ashen draws a knife and begins to absentmindedly carve up the table. All 9 of the names on my list are immortals. That's why I've been sent to kill him. Why are you killing immortals? G and the other mortals committed a crime against the gods thousands of years ago. Wait, did she say 9? That person that we saw in the dream the other day playing this game, with all the spears through her, I think she said she was the 9th. So, and she also wasn't dead despite being impaled on spears, so she might be like an imprisoned immortal. G and the other immortals committed a crime against the gods thousands of years ago. She coughs into her hands abruptly and violently, and when she draws back her palm away, it's sticky with red. But I can't speak of it. Forbidden. They've lived long enough, is what I'm trying to say, and I'm helping death catch up with them. Who sent you? Old Lady Death, of course, says Ashen. Come to collect her debts. Her crumple-scarred face is utterly serious. How did G become an immortal? An ancient transgression, says Ashen. A blister forms on her lips and bursts, dribbling blood down her chin. How do you expect to kill an immortal, then? There is a loophole, she grins. An immortal can't be killed, but they can choose to die. It's always the catch, right? In the stories? That the immortal man gives up on life, but life won't give up on him, and he ends up wishing for death to come. Well, it ain't true. Immortals can choose their own way out, by their own hand. Almost none of them ever do, of course, she adds, but the laws of fate are slippery, and if an immortal is holding a sword and I grab his arm and push it through his neck, does that count as dying by his own hand? Apparently so. G is less likely to be rampaging around with a sword than the last name on my list, though, so we need to twist the rules in a new way. Like what? I have an ally of sorts, in Phobitor Quinn. Ashen pauses, her eyes half focusing on a teapot, but forces herself out of catatonia before it has her fully in its grip. Where was I? Yes, an ally. He also wants G dead, and he's one of the only other people in the house who's worked out the rules of immortality. He can help us. Then let's go to Phobitor Quinn. Have any idea where that is? That's pretty far out there. The City of Engines. A city of moving metal. The air swarms with flying machines, and below them the city turns on colossal groaning cogs. Beyond the bustle and the madness, Tarwater Bay lurks, black and still as volcanic stone. Here, the impossible is routine, and even the house's tenuous laws of reality are completely suspended, provided that you build a good enough machine to suspend them. The man is washed up on the shore. The young man lies in a mound of rust, oily black waves lapping at his feet. When you check his pulse, you find he's still alive, though only barely. Tarwater Bay is manned and fortified. The beach sprawls with barbed wire. Searchlights sweep the waves every few seconds. One beam of light lands on you and the half-drowned man, and immediately a bright figure detaches from the nearest sentry tower and flies down to investigate you. Oi! It's one of the city's rocket men, now hovering above you and spewing fire from his misshapen metal legs. He's holding a rifle in his hands. Did this fellow wash up from the tar water? Let's deny it. No, the fellow's soaking wet. He has waves lapping around his ankles, says the Rocket Man. I'm pretty sure he didn't fall from the sky. The Rocket Man frowns, swaying back and forth as he wrestles for control over his unruly rocket legs. Nothing good comes from Tarwater Bay, he says. Trash shamblers, technic squid, and other half-machine abominations. I've never heard of a man washing up. He glances down at the supine figure in the rust. Is he alive? Let's lie and say it's our cousin who looks like he died. The Rocket Man coughs and awkwardly attempts to pat your shoulder. Unfortunately, he misjudges his trajectory and ends up doing a slow cartwheel instead. I'll, let you take the body back to your family, he says, upside down. My condolences. Let's bring the man back to the kinetipede. Back at the kinetipede, Rutherford is forced to administer several blows to the ribs and a good dose of smelling salts before the half-drowned man finally awakes. He immediately spews a great volume of oily salt water across the floor of the surgery. Terribly sorry, apologizes the drowned man, immediately wiping the oil and vomit from his mustache. Oh dear. What happened? Did we build it? Build what? Nothing, says Dr. We didn't ask who he was yet, but they gave us his name. That's funny. Dr. Delgado brightly. I was a tad confused is all. This is my first time above the waves. He takes a great gulp of air. The oxygen here is delicious. You can really tell it hasn't been recycled. Who are you? Dr. Henry Hidalgo at your service. The mustache man shakes your hand damply, some color returning to his cheeks. Engineer, inventor, and minister for demonic schemes. Let's explain how we found him. He listens, stroking his mustache theatrically. I see. Well, thank you for pulling me out of the clutches of those nosy rocket men. You certainly saved my bacon there, so you did. Ever since I first came to the house, I have lived beneath the waves of the bay. Now I've been forced from my home, and I don't know how to return. A troublesome situation for old Dr. Delgado, wouldn't you say? What are you going to do? Perhaps there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Perhaps my old pal, what's your name? You tell him. Perhaps my old pal Salty John can help me out once more. I am a master scientist, able to shape technology with the slightest whim or thought. Let me join your crew as chief engineer. I will single-handedly revolutionize your engine before I work out a way to return beneath the waves. Okay, so our starting people return to the city of Keys then. So if we want to get them back and do their quests, we can always do that. Let's do that. Alright, so we have a new engineer. Let's gather news. Drop off our passenger. Advertise for a crew member. Yeah, we can do a new record keeper. His fingers are fountain pens, his teeth are nibs, even his hair is composed of a dozen ink-leaking feather quills jutting bizarrely from his scalp. He speaks in a barely comprehensible lisp, and his tongue is constantly black with blood and ink. That sounds awesome. Prospective passenger. The three-headed Mycena asks for safe passage to the old hollow. He'll pay you 100 guineas, okay? Let's wander the streets. The streets encircle a cog, an upright cog that's half underground. As you walk down it, the ground rumbles beneath your feet. The cog is moving, and it plunges you into darkness below. In the few dark minutes before the streetlights turn on, you stumble onto an interlocking bridge that drops you onto another cog nearby. Abruptly, you have wandered into the hidden bowels of the city, the undercogs, spinning and grinding in subterranean twilight. No one lives down here. No one that the above-ground citizens consider important anyway. Just the desperate and deranged. A bearded fellow is limping towards you, apparently dressed in nothing but a stained bedsheet. Hey, hey, he shouts, I want a word. Let's listen to him. The old man's breath is hot and terrible. You should stay down here with me. Down here we'll be safe when the presence rises. The presence? It lives beneath the Tarwater Bay, the old man lowers his voice. Don't you wonder what builds those things and sends them up to kill us? Mad, ancient old thing it is. He waits for that to sink in. Do you believe me? No one up there believed me. Let's tell him that we believe him. I'm so glad. The old man presses something small and cold into your hand and limps away. We got a gallows candle. Oh, a human finger. Wonderful. Okay, I think we've done about all that we can here. Let's take a look at the map. I kind of want to finish up that quest with the assassination plot. It's pretty far out, though. buy a little bit of fuel before we go. Let's just go really far east. Let's see, there's a cottage here. Let's enter it. Huh, there was a deactivated golem inside. Let's tear down the cairn. Ooh. You discover a skeleton clutching a rusted sword, his ribs encased in a breastplate. A great find, though your crew murmur darkly of a curse. In your sleep that night, you battle an armored warrior again and again. When you wake, you're covered in bruises. We gained 1 old bones, 1 historical curio. We are now bruised, and we've lost some sanity. So, if this game handles wounds like Sunless Sea does, which I assume is similar, you basically have a certain amount of wounds that you can take before you die. In Sunless Sea it was 3, you could get wounded twice, and I think the 3rd time would kill you. So if we're bruised, then the next one's probably going to be worse. This guy wasn't chasing us, so let's go see what he's all about. No, he's gone. Too bad. That guy is definitely chasing us. Got quite a ways to go. There's definitely going to be some cities in between here and there, though. Let's try the collapsed library. Nope. At some point we'll have to start cutting north as well. The music's gone. It's just dripping sounds. Okay. Search for an intact book, no luck. What is our vigilance at? That's one of our lower stats, it looks like. There's a well. Something draws you to this well. You order the kinetipede stopped and descend to take a closer look. You peer over the stone lip. Some ravening emptiness tugs at the corners of your mind. Let's draw up a bucket. The bucket comes up filled with roiling darkness. You manage to coax some into a glass vial before the rest dissipates. So we've gained bottled darkness. Okay, we're near the Carnage of Rust. There we go. Or Carnage and Rust. That sounds like a friendly place. Carnage and Rust. A terrible battle raged here at the end of the glass reclamation. The floor is a pocked wasteland of rusted metal, rubble, and bones. We could scavenge. You overturn kinetipedes and dig beneath the hulking wrecks of blimps. You trawl through the ancient remnants until your face is black with dust and your fingers red with rust. You find a City of Keys scuttler, mechanical legs blown off upside down in the debris. When you flip it over, you discover an antique medal on the lapel of a dead officer inside. So we've gotten a curio. We can drink the bottle of darkness now. It's a bad idea. Don't do it. Head to the Founder's Fire. I really don't want to spend my apprehensions on another dream just yet. I should probably start raising some of my attributes. Haven't seen one of those before. They don't seem to want to fight us, so let's go see what they're all about. Drifting empty. Utter silence. Let's search the vessel. No sign of a struggle and nothing broken except the heartlight. Darkness has rushed in and churns in the lower decks. Skittering from the lower decks, you pause, but nothing happens, so you ease open the door to the captain's cabin. A painting framed in gold hangs on the wall, a disconcerting depiction of a giant bat devouring mice with human faces. Valuable, perhaps. The floorboards creak and the skittering below stops abruptly. It knows you're here. Let's see if we can get the painting. You try to prise the painting from the wall, but it's bolted on fast. As you pull it with increasing anxiety, the door creaks open behind you. A bloated insect fills the doorframe, a spider the size of a man, with a bulging underbelly and a pale human face. It gazes at you with childlike curiosity. Come with me, it pleads. Oh god. Its long legs leave gouges in the wood. Sure, we'll follow it. As you follow the strange creature, it begins to sing a childish song. The trilling melody winds into your bones. Your limbs grow oddly heavy. As you fall to the floor, the thing begins to wrap you in webbing, crooning to you as though to a precious child. You black out for a while, and when you wake, you're below deck, a trussed human shape amongst dozens of other trussed human shapes. The creature is skittering between its cocooned victims, trilling to itself excitedly. Let me show you, it begs. Let me. An obscene proboscis extends from between its... Okay, there's a quote there that doesn't need to be there. An obscene proboscis extends from between its lips and latches onto the back of your head. For a horrible second, you expect it to start sucking your brain from your skull. Instead, it begins to pump thoughts and visions into you. Visions of strange and distant worlds, of open skies and cloud-topped mountains. A succession of beautiful and mournful vistas that fill you with longing. Gained one horrifying ordeal, glimpse of another world, and breathtaking spectacle. Weep, you can do nothing else. You are on the lower decks of the ship for what could have been seconds or could have been days, your mind cycling through the glories you could never have imagined. You're almost disappointed when your crew burst through the door and riddle the creature with bullets. Gained one memory of melancholy. The web swath's former crew are dead. Their brains are expanded beyond the confines of their skulls. You should leave this place. Whoa. That was the coolest encounter I've had in this game so far. Yeah, that thing's trying to head us off, it looks like. Maybe it was, I don't know. Huh. Let's see what they're all about. Bronzemen. A patrol of Bronzemen, the Principate's most feared and renowned troops. You can see their gleaming faces gazing impassively down at you through the windows of their aerostat. The name is not metaphorical. In secret occult rituals, the Bronzemen are flayed alive and their skin is replaced by a supple shell of metal. They are left resembling nothing more than shining, moving statues. After many years, of course, the enchantment fades and leaves them as statues truly, monuments to the slowly suffocating hero trapped inside. Let's not attack them. That sounds like a bad idea. Founder's Fire. The capital city of the Sixfold Principate. So they were talking about the Principate earlier. I think it's like a rival faction to the Seven Cities, which is where we're from. A magnificent sprawl dominated by the upended metal vessels around which it was built. Embedded nose down in the floor, the sleek metal founder spews unending flame. It has been plundered of its most valuable technology, and further exploration of its depths are reserved only for the prince's most trusted scientists. Floating above the city at a careful distance from the flames is the prince's personal palace, the Tower of Billowing Silk, a taffeta spiral within which the most exquisite pleasures are to be found. Let's gather news. The Circle has been trying to summon medical technology, although so far most of their efforts have resulted in useless junk. A vocal critic of the prince's heart has been found dead, and the prince's teeth are blamed, though only in whispers. A woman in rough-spun brown robes is attempting to attract your attention to the station. Yes, hello, thank you! She grabs you by the arm and steers you anxiously to a quiet stall in the corner of the station where she buys you a cup of milky tea. I need your help, she says. You'll be rewarded, I promise. I don't have much, but... She starts emptying her handbag out onto the table, creating a small heap of coins, cigarette packets, and half-eaten tubes of mints. I'll do my best. Who are you? My name is B, she says. I'm a member of the Summoner's Circle, just an apprentice to tell the truth. The Circle are a cabal of occultists who specialize in summoning from other worlds. They're probably the single most powerful group in the city, and an apprenticeship is highly coveted. What do you need help with, B? I can't say anything in public. You retreat to your kinetipede, where she finally takes down her hood and shakes out a tangle of drab brown hair. Her eyes are nestled in pitch-black circles. Thank you, she says. For a moment she hesitates, fussing with her sleeves. I came to you because the prince's heart is missing. Who? The Prince's Heart is the official title of the leader of the Circle. You know, the Prince's mouth gives the speeches, the hand writes the laws, the eyes watch for trouble, and the heart summons what it desires. These are the most powerful people in all of the Principate, except for the Prince himself. And he's missing? Why haven't I heard about this? I don't know, B spreads her hands helplessly. It's been hushed up. No one outside the Circle even knows he's gone. The Prince's Heart is a tempestuous man. He's disappeared before, but never without making arrangements first to keep things running in his absence. I'm worried about him. I don't expect you to go out of your way, but just keep an eye out. She looks for Lauren. There's more than just an apprentice looking for her vanished boss. This is either hero worship or love, or perhaps both. Let's ask about her relationship. We're at a disadvantage. Oh, we passed. She bursts into tears, burying her head in her hands. Fine, we had something once. I guess you'd call it an affair. A fling, maybe? I don't know what it was. He barely spoke to me afterwards, and it was like he completely forgot about me, but I still care about him. I gained a moment of melancholy. Where should I start looking? I don't know, says B. I'm just an apprentice. Maybe you could start by asking the other members of the Prince's Council, the eyes or the hands. They must know something. Sure, let's try to find him. Thank you, B clasps your hand. I just hope he's in one piece when you find him. Let's ask the eye about the heart. You don't find the eye, he finds you, appearing at your shoulder as you walk through a crowded street. I hear you are searching for the heart, he says conversationally. Follow me. He takes you to the Sludge Cup Cafe and buys you a pint of despicable coffee. One of his eye sockets is empty, the eyelid drooping over a hollow socket. The other eye stares from a gaunt face, the cheekbones sharp as knives. I am personally coordinating the search for the heart, says the eye. Your assistance is not needed. And to be honest, the heart disappears like this all the time. He is a man subject to his whims. Let the matter lie. Let's ask the hand. You catch the prince's hand just as he is leaving a courtroom. Both of the hands serve as chief justices in Founders Fire, receiving petitions and passing legislature. He is a handsome man of indeterminate age, his long blonde hair wrapped in a tight bun, his beard short and impeccably trimmed. His right arm ends at the elbow, and his suit sleeve has been neatly buttoned up to cover the nub. 2 burly guards flank him, their hands resting on their pistols. Ah, you are also searching for our missing friend. The hand studies you keenly. Excellent, the more the better. Follow me. He takes you to his sumptuous gold-curtained office. So where might he be? The prince's heart has banished before, said the hand. Sometimes the stress of his position is just too much, and he likes to go on these little impulsive jaunts. Last time we found him, he was on a fishing holiday in Gandola. Before that, he'd founded some kind of mad cult in Eld Abrath. You might try these places first. Perhaps he's returned to an old haunt. Let's submerge ourselves in color and spectacle. A street circus is in full swing. Acrobats pirouette on beds of nails. Elephantine creatures dance on their hind legs. A 2-bit occultist breathes clouds of sparkling green smoke. The ringmaster is a scaly thing, its head balanced on a neck as long as your arm. To you, this seems as marvelous as anything else in the circus, but the crowd pays it no mind. Gained one breathtaking spectacle. Let's see what's for sale. Can sell the glimpse of another world, but I don't know if I want to do that just yet. Okay, let's look at the map here. So I think this is a good leaving off point, and next time we can continue Ashen's quest here. Let's go ahead and save. And we'll pick it up again later.